What is your vision going forward?
My legacy is to see that South Asians and others don't have to die unnecessarily of chronic diseases. Number one being your heart disease. And I have gone through it. I know what it is. I've been in their shoes. I've turned into a septuagenarian athlete after that. So if I can do it at the age of 61, after my open heart surgery, then you people if you are interested in looking after your health, you can do it also.
Hello friends, welcome to Chat with Chithra, Season 2. My guest today is a Resurgent physician and author, Dr.Akil Taher. Dr.Akil Taher, welcome to Chat with Chithra, Season 2. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for those kind words, Chithra. And I'm happy to be here and joining your viewers.
Tell me something about your growing up years. Is this what really you wanted to do, to become a medical practitioner? How are your growing up years?
You see, Chithra, my growing up years were in Bombay. I still call it Bombay. It's Mumbai now. But I grew up in that city in a rather lower middle class family. So we didn't have much, but we had a lot of love and caring to compensate for physical things and material things that we did not have. I was not really interested into the study aspect of it. So I was not one of those students. I would always be in the middle of the class.
Right.
And then came a time when we went to college, and my older brother was very studious, and I was not. So my father one day said that this bird will fly away from my hands. And that got stuck in my mind, that my father said this. I've got to prove that I'm not just somebody. I am somebody. I'm not just anybody. So I took it upon myself, and from that moment onwards, I got very serious with my life, and I started really studying. Got into the medical school, and I had to go to Nagpur University for my medical studies. And then once I finished that, my father had a small business in the Middle East, in Bahrain. And so I went over there to Bahrain to be with the Ministry of Health, where we did some wonderful work. We started with my American, British, and Australian colleagues. We started the first Gulf medical school in Bahrain. This was in the 70s. Where we started that, and this was the first where we taught medicine to the locals over there, So that is how I came to it. And then my American colleagues and my British colleagues and all, I said, look, this is not for you. Either go back to India or go to the US or go to Great Britain. And that is how I started studying for my exams and came over to the US.
Right.
That is, in short, how I grew up, and not having much, but still, I was a happy childhood, except when it came to studies. So I wasn't good.
That's very inspiring, even though you started off in a very, very humble way. You are today shows your accomplishments, your achievements, and more than anything, your determination to do good in what you really are. So amazing. In 2009, you've had a triple bypass heart surgery. And here we are talking through this virtual platform today. How was your mindset before the surgery and after the surgery? It must have been, I would love to hear from you.
Let me take you a little back from there to memory lane. As to in 2004, I believe, is when I was 56 years old. That's the time I had heart disease came knocking at my door. But Prior to that was my life's this thing, which was I came to America rather late because I was in Bahrain. So I came to America at the age of 40 years, which was rather late. And I had to do a lot of catching up. So I paid very little attention to my family, friends, and my own health. So, in fact, my job robbed me of an opportunity to live my life with purpose, passion, and positivity. So, what I did was at that particular time was I indiscriminately ate everything on my plate. I mean, I was indulging into any foods that were brought to me, unhealthy foods, without worrying about the unhealthy consequences, like heart attack. And so I believe, like many of us believe, South Asians, that it'll not happen to me. So I ate that way, like there was no tomorrow. Apart from this, I was a couch potato. I did not know the meaning of exercise. I had not got up. So if I was not working hard or I was not eating what is in front of me, unhealthy food, I was totally in on my couch.
Mm.
Apart from this in Chitra, I had a type A personality. I needed everything under control.
Sure.
It was my way or the highway. So all this led into a lot of stress, which was building up, the chronic stress. It was not like fight and flight response. This was a chronic cortisone building up. And so heart disease came at a young age of 56 when they put stents into me. Now two of my arteries were 98 to 99% blocked. So they had to use a diamond tip drill to shave through this. And in the process, I got a cardiac arrest. So they had to shock me to get my heart beating again. Now, at this point, people must be thinking that, oh, now I've turned into an athlete, I'll start eating better and I'll do everything. No, I did not. I continued my unhealthy lifestyle that was before. For some reason, it did not. And I laughed through my medical problems. So more medical problems came in, like pneumonia, bronchitis, sinus infections every year. And then came the infamous diverticulitis, which I was having because of lack of fiber for years now. So that got me that little pockets in the colon, and twice I was admitted with perforations, holes in my colon. Now picture this, your viewers should picture this and learn from this, nothing else.
Yeah.
The surgeon, my friend, who is standing over me in the operating room and telling me, Akil, if I do not operate on you right now, you may not survive. So that was the state of this thing. All this brought in, see, the rub was that I was a doctor. I was not supposed to be. I was supposed to be treating patients, not become one.
Mm-hmm.
So I started withdrawing from life. And when I withdrew from life, I became lonely. I sat for long hours looking vacantly into the distance, sobbing uncontrollably at times, and throwing things using anger as a cover up for the deep despair I felt.
Mm.
And all these led into more physical problems, like I explained. Nights were terrible. I used to get up with horrible dreams, night sweats, and chronic fatigue as a result. So all this continued for 5 years from when I was 56 till I was 61, when I was back to the hospital, this time for an open heart surgery, because obviously my stents had failed. So this was prior. Now, this is prior to my surgery. But as they were wheeling me into surgery, I don't know what came over me, Chitra. I just turned around and said, I'm going to do a half marathon in a year's time if all goes well with the surgery. Now, I don't know why I said this, but looking back, I believe that I had only two options left now. To continue this horrific, painfully slow-ending life's journey with mediocrity, despair, anger, or make a conscious decision to start living my life again. And I made that second decision. And that is what I said this to the people who were there. And the nurses, of course, poor things, they laughed probably. They thought I was joking. How could he do a half marathon? But I took up, as soon my recovery was remarkable, Chitra. Trust me. I was on the treatment on the third day. I had not taken a single pain medication. They brought it to me and I said, no, I will not have it. Now was a transformation. And so I decided that now, even that horrific pain that you get when they open your chest was nothing compared to the emotional agony of 5 years. I was happier in this physical pain than in the emotional agony that I'd gone through. So I said I took up running. Now, this person who was a long time couch potato takes up running for the first time in his life. So I was shuffling and jogging and then finally running. And to me, I found running to be meditation in motion.
And you've never taken up running ever in your life before?
Ever in my life. Ever in my life. I was a couch potato to the highest degree. So I started this and I found great. I could be myself and I could really do things. So I took up running. And 7 months after that, I remember I went to Nashville, Tennessee in USA, and I went with my wife to do my half marathon. And I could not sleep that night. You know, there was a dichotomy of fear as well as excitement. And at about 2 o'clock in the morning, I slept and I got a dream that I was getting a gold medal in the Olympics. For some reason, I was singing the national anthem totally out of tune. And I did run that, but I took 4 hours, grueling 4 hours to finish the half marathon. But my bruised heart had not failed me. It literally, as physically as well as it carried me across the finish line figuratively too.
This is such an amazing thing. It's a great inspiration. It's not just for a group of people or people only with who have had this kind of symptoms or who are going through such kind of illnesses, but it is for everybody. Your story is a story of one of inspiration for the younger generation as well, in order to lead a positive and healthy lifestyle right from a very young age, isn't it? And I also read that you've also been trekking on the Himalayas.
Correct. Not the Himalayas. What I did was I did 8 months after my run. No, 1 year after my run, somebody invited me to go to Mount Kailash. On I thought I was going on trekking, but it was a yatra. It was a pilgrimage. And so when I got, to be very honest, I thought it was trekking, but when it was a yatra, I said, okay, if you can't get out of it, let's join and see how it is. And it turned out to be a great experience. So what I did was I sat in all the Havans and I did all the prayers and everything that was required. Now, Mount Kailash was horrific because the idea is I'd gone with a Nepali company that would not even give you that much coffee in the morning. And if you went for food, they would say, what? You want more? And they used to treat the yatris badly because you see, the yatris don't complain.
All right.
Kailash. So and the fact is, like the Muslims believe that if you die in Mecca, you're going to go to heaven. Here they believe that if you die on Mount Kailash, you're straight away in God's arms.
Yeah.
What I thought was that 3 days were horrendous when you circumvent around this thing, Mount Kailash. But it may be physically, but mentally, I was so calm and peaceful that when I circumvented and went to 19,000 plus feet, everybody was high-fiving and telling people and this thing. I did not want to do that. I wanted to be alone. I isolated myself, sat on a stone and thought, what would life be if I did not have all these luxuries that I have in America and all these material benefits? And there was something that came over me that I could not explain in words, but I could feel it. And when I came down from Mount Kailash, my wife literally noticed that my type A personality had tempered down. I had turned more a listener. My patients were better for it. So all these things happen for a reason. And if you don't let yourself get into it, if I thought, oh my God, this is a pilgrimage and I'm not very, I may be spiritual, but I'm not very religious, so I don't want to go to this, I would have missed it.
Sure.
So just go ahead and experience things as long as it's not harming you. And you will definitely get something out of it. So that was how I did my Mount Kailash. And then in a few years after that, when I was 66 years old, I went and did Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest freestanding mountain in the world. That was what I did at that time.
Wow, truly inspiring. I think more than anything, you had a proper mindset, Dr. Taher, I would say, because physically we might experience, unpleasantness or pain, but then so long as you're positive here, you're confident here. It's really amazing to hear your, every venture of yours after the bypass surgery. I mean, it's a new leaf. It's a new lease of life for you, if I may humbly say so.
Of course, because I was told to take a yak and a pony to climb on Kailash. And I said, no. They said, you got bypass surgery a year back. You have to. I said, no. Then they said, okay, we'll let you go, because I said, I will not, because I've got a clearance from my cardiologist, who is with me. Then I went around and I told them that, then they started saying, do you need oxygen? I said, no. I am a new person. My arteries are opened out. I am now doing things that I wanted to do. And so I do not wish to have any oxygen. So we were 4 people who did it. And let me tell you one thing, Chitra, I must tell you this. There were 2 women from UK. I distinctly remember them. We were 4 of us who did it on foot. Some of them did it on the pony and yak, and some of them stayed at the base and looked at Mount Kailash. So we did it on 4 of us. 2 of these were UK ladies. And these ladies had not even done 1 kilometer before they did this.
Wow, amazing.
It was just faith that carried them. So there are certain things which are not, you cannot explain it, but they're there.
Yeah, and it's been a totally refreshing or rejuvenating experience, both for your body, mind, and the soul. Your family is able to see the change in you and you yourself. So that's the best thing that can happen to anybody.
I was always very good with my patients, but the idea was that, again, I've become a resurgent physician. I know very strongly that heart disease is the leading cause of death in men, women, in America, worldwide, for 104 years in a row now. So
Wow.
can you imagine? We are dying. And South Asians, I get at least 1 call every week, a lady crying or a man saying, oh, my wife has got a heart attack at 41. Oh, somebody has got a coronary artery disease at 56. And I give talks, a lot of talks on heart disease in South Asians, the hidden threat. It's a tremendous amount of threat that we have. We are dying like crazy.
Going back on your experiences, life-changing experiences. You have navigated around a lot of great stumbling blocks, and you made a positive comeback. What was the most helpful change that made you do that? Was it just physical or mental or both? What would you attribute this to?
I think it always, whatever you do, it starts in the mind. And your mind can carry your body to the heights that you never thought were possible. When I say heights, I mean physical with the mountain, this thing, or running, or whatever it is. But you have to have a mindset. You have to first of all accept that this is what is going to be. How am I going to take? I took baby steps in doing it, and therefore people should be doing it. And I believe very strongly, Chitra, that people should live outside their comfort zone, because whatever it is, it becomes monotonous when you're not living outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mean that climb mountains or run marathons. What I mean is outside your comfort zone, whether you take up gardening, or you learn to play mahjong or bridge, or you do cooking, whatever is there which you are not comfortable with. You got to get out and do those things so that you feel it. But I basically feel that I had no choices. I had only two choices, like I said, and I had to do something. Now, if I do it, would I do it half-heartedly or put both my feet into it and do it? When I put both my feet, then I realize, and I tell people right now, that I'm only 14 years old. I didn't live life before that.
Sure.
I was surviving. I was not thriving. Now I'm thriving. I'm just feeling so good about it. I just gave a talk to in Austin to the University of Texas young students, and I told them that, look, this is where it starts. Atherosclerosis or plaques or buildups in your coronary arteries start at the age of my grandson, who 10 years old, 8 to 10 years old. So if we don't look after it, and we always, the Americans over here think, oh, but you're all vegetarians. No, most of us are junk food vegans and junk food vegetarians, which is worse than eating meat. Not in that sense, not in the sense of cruelty to animals and all that, which I believe very strongly, because my wife gave up meat about 25, 30 years back because of cruelty to animals. I did it for health. My wife and daughter did it for that other reason.
All right. Okay. I think it's a beautiful way to put it, just to summarize what you have said here, rather than just staying within your comfort zone, not living life dangerously, but at least, step out and do things that, you might normally not do. And as you say, once you start doing something new, it becomes a habit, and you're doing, in addition to your other chores, you're also doing this. You're absolutely right, because the amount of satisfaction that one derives, once you're satisfied here, then, you're motivated to do further, right? I think that's
perfect. It very soon becomes your new norm,
absolutely, yeah.
That's so true. That
You are an advocate of a whole food, plant-based diet, and you've mentioned in many of your interviews and also in your articles, a plant-based way is the best way to reverse heart disease. Why is that so?
You see, let me explain to you that all the chronic diseases that we have, 60% or 65% of my patients that come to see me are with blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, obesity, and heart disease or things like that, or arthritis. These are all man-made. These can be prevented, or we can treat the cause of this, the primordial prevention, that not let the disease happen. Now, if we don't look after this, say we got high cholesterol, now we are treating the consequence of the disease. That means I put you on statin, or I give you medication. You got high blood pressure, I put you on medication. My point is that, if, first of all, don't let high blood pressure come into your life. Number two, if it comes into your life, if you change to a plant-based, whole food plant-based, no oil diet, then your blood pressure is going to get normal. That means we are treating the cause. And the reason being that we have got about 50,000 miles of arteries running in our body, arteries and veins, blood vessels. Now, if you look at the heart, it's the size of a fist, slightly larger than a fist. It's beating 100,000 times a day to pump in 2 gallons of blood to every organ and tissue of your body. So in a lifetime of about, say, 70 years, it beats about 2.5 billion times. So are we not going to look after this jewel? We have to look after it. And therefore, these vessels that come out from the main aorta, these are called the coronary arteries. Now, all the arteries in your body have an inner lining, which is called the endothelium.
Okay.
And this endothelium is extremely, and I tell people this is not rocket science. It's very, I put a picture of the graph of the cross section of the artery, coronary, but this produces nitric oxide, and good plant-based food increase the nitric oxide. And this nitric oxide keeps the coronary artery dilated, keeps the blood flowing smoothly in the passage of the lumen, and protects the arterial wall. What happens if you have a bad diet, say standard American diet of meat, eggs, dairy, processed foods, and oil and sugar, or a standard Indian diet, a bad Indian diet of saturated fats and ghee and oil and sugar and processed? What happens? Your endothelial lining starts getting disrupted. It's not producing nitric oxide anymore. So the culprits like cholesterol, fibrin, calcium are waiting in the wings. They wait for this opportunity, this moment, and they start going in and build the gooey stuff, which we call plaques. Now, if your plaques go on for decades and decades, then it narrows the lumen of the artery, and eventually you start getting not enough blood into your heart, and you start getting pain, what we doctors call as angina.
Oh.
Now, this, you're lucky if you get this. If you have to have a heart disease, get this, but not a heart attack. Because in the heart attack, those clots are friable, soft, they break. And once they form an emboli, then they go and block a certain part of the heart, and that is a heart attack. 50% of the people die with the first heart attack. So why, when you get a heart attack, if you get a heart attack, sure, you may need stents or bypass surgery or whatever, blood thinners and everything else. But you got angina. That is why I make a statement in my book, Open Heart, that had I known then what I know today, I may not have gone for stents or surgery. Because I could have reversed this. This whole process can be reversed. Your endothelium is to get healthy. When you are doing stents or open heart surgery, so you're cutting off that part of the coronary artery, and you're putting another vessel taken from your veins, from your legs, or your arteries, your memory arteries, and you're doing that. So you feel great. Blood is now gushing, but you're not treated. This is Band-Aid. What about the other arteries in your brains? In your brain, in your kidney, those are still having endothelium, those are still damaged. So treat the cause, the endothelium. And that is why I say the only proven case, and I have been in an auditorium when I've seen a 76-year-old who could not walk from, they show you a picture of him, video, could not walk from one end to the room to the other end. And then after this whole food plant-based no oil diet for 3 years, he's now playing tennis.
Right. You have explained about what exactly would happen if people follow a very unhealthy form of diet, whichever culture you might come from, American, British, or Indian, Asian, whatsoever. But when you talk about plant-based foods, how are they available in the market? Are they easily accessible to people?
The point I'm trying to make is, that yes, it is a huge problem for the lower class socioeconomic people to get this kind of food. But remember one thing, even in America, only people who are living in apartments, if they have a small house, think about it, Chitra, we always have a plot behind our backyard. Okay, why is this backyard not used? I started using my backyard, which is not a big one. But I started doing gardening in my COVID time for 2 years when I was locked in, that type of, when I was telemedicine. And I started doing gardening. So everybody can do this. And then they can get organic things. So another thing that I would like to say is that when you have certain means, and these are just simple things, plant-based, you can get it in a bulk or whatever. But it is what? It is vegetables, it is fruits, it is nuts, it is grains, it is legumes, it is beans, and it is seeds. Now you can do pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, or quinoa, or amaranth, or what have you. So many different vegetables. I play a game with my patients from A to Z. Can you name all the fruits? Or can you name all the vegetables?
Mm.
These are vegetables you can grow, or you can get it in the market. And if you go to the whole food that markets that we have around here, you can get the cheap things. It's a thing that, can you imagine that years back in 1950s, there were ads saying that this doctor smokes camel, so please smoke camel. And the doctor is shown smoking a camel cigarette.
Mm. Mm.
These were ads in 1950s. And we had to fight 10 years to get the cigarette industry out of the picture. So it is going to take a long time.
Yeah.
So when you talk about plant-based, if everybody goes plant-based, the economy will tumble. Because what happens to the huge giant industries, the
Exactly.
dairy? So I understand that. But if you're looking after yourself and your family, and if you want your grandchildren to have a better place to live in, you're doing it for people turn vegan or plant-based for three reasons. One is for global warming, one is for animal cruelty and animal rights, and third is for health.
Yeah.
So if you do this, you are creating a better place for your grandchildren to live. So what I named all the vegetables, and these are the plant-based that you can get in bulk at times.
That's very useful, in fact, for our viewers as well. It is not going to happen drastically. It is a very, very gradual process, and first it should be confined with the family, and then slowly spread awareness amongst the communities and the society, and further ahead. It makes a lot of sense as well to me personally.
Also, last one little thing that I want to bring out over here. We were never meant physiologically or anatomically to eat meat, period. We don't have scissor-like teeth that the animals have. We have got low cusp. That means for grinding and assimilating and digesting our food. We've got longer digestive tracts. Animals have shorter digestive tracts. We have got trichromatic vision. They have dichromatic vision. That means we can see colors and fruits and all that. And finally, even if you look at the Roman times, those gladiators who fought those frightening animals, they could not afford meat. They were called barley men. And they were called barley men. And if the barley men means they only had grains and all that for their food, and if they could fight all these ferocious animals, and here is your answer. If I could do 100-mile bike ride, I did 100-kilometer bike ride when I was having meat, chicken, a large piece at times, and I would be in bed for 5 days. But when I started doing plant-based and I did 100-mile bike ride, I got a call when I was coming home. It was a 6-hour drive that there is no doctor tomorrow, Dr. Taher. He is reported sick. Can you come around? I have done 8.5-mile bike ride. I'm driving 6 hours to go to my this thing. Next morning, I'm getting up at 8 o'clock to go to work for 10 hours. This thing, like nothing has happened.
Amazing. Distinctly, we can see the difference between both extremes. I wouldn't call it extreme. I think it is more a healthier choice, isn't it? At the end of the day, that's
be a flexitarian first. I would tell the people, the viewers, try and be a flexitarian. Cut back on meat, eggs daily. Go slow steps. Introduce something in your diet. Say, for example, you like eggs. Then try to make a tofu scrambled eggs and not the egg scrambled eggs. So you're replacing that item. And then slowly replace each item, and you've got tremendous amount of restaurants and recipes and all that, books to guide you.
When you say plant-based diet, is a vegan also included in that? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar. I know a lot of my friends, they've changed into vegans. So I'm not really sure whether the vegan also falls into the same category of plant-based diet.
No, vegan, if you're a vegan, it is 100% better than being a vegetarian. And vegetarian is 100% being better than meat eating or whatever meats. We are talking about chicken, fish, whatever.
Right.
So a point in vegetarian is what? That you are still using dairy.
Yeah.
And dairy, as Esselstyn's son called it, it is liquid meat. A cup of a cup of 2% milk has the same saturated fat and cholesterol as a 4-ounce steak.
Oh, really?
Yes. So you got saturated fat in your dairy product. So when you transfer from vegetarian into vegan, you're giving up all dairy products. Now, dairy, when I say, it's very important because my patients can come back and say, Doc, I give up dairy. I said, what about cheese? Oh, no, no, can't give up cheese. The reason being that we have what is known as casein in the milk, cow's milk. And casein is a protein that is not easily digestible by us. So it forms casomorphine, and it has morphine-like qualities. That means you get addicted to cheese because of the casomorphine. That is because you take a large quantity of milk to produce small quantity of cheese. So all the casomorphine is concentrated. So you can't give up cheese.
It's like
because you
MSG,
get
basically.
Yes, but it is a casein. Yeah, it's a casomorphine. Morphine, you are addicted. This also you are addicted.
We are only recently hearing about women being prone to heart disease, Asian women in particular. So what would your advice be for the women out there, particularly from an Asian background? Is there any specific advice in terms of their diet? What is the kind of lifestyle they should follow, and how should their mental health be? It would be really nice to get your perspectives.
Okay, to answer this, Chitra, let me first tell you, it is extremely important that women understand the subtle and the vague symptoms they can get apart from what the symptoms men have. 40% of the women have vague symptoms and subtle symptoms, which I would like them to understand. For this particular thing, I'm going to talk about it, but also if you can go to YouTube and listen to Chef AJ and myself, Dr. Taher, about heart disease in women and why heart disease in women is sometimes missed or often dismissed by the doctors. So this is number one. The typical Bollywood or a Hollywood type of heart attack where you have excruciating chest pain, you clutch your chest, you fall on the ground with sweating and dizziness. This happens in both sexes, but 40% or more of the women do not have these kind of heart attacks.
Right.
They have the very subtle symptoms. What are the subtle symptoms? They can have like complete fatigue, as if you run a marathon, a shortness of breath, even though you're not asthmatic, or you can have a shoulder pain, or a jaw pain, or the neck pain, upper back pain. Now, these are the things. I know a lady who had toothache, and she'd been to several doctors and eventually got the tooth extracted. Still, she had pain. And it was ultimately found that she had a heart problem, the coronary artery disease. So we have to be very careful about this. Now, at the same time, I'm not asking your listeners, if they get a back pain or a neck pain, to run to the ER. No, I'm not saying this. What I'm saying is, out of the blue symptoms, say, for example, to be honest, I cannot take spicy food, period. Now, if I do take spicy food and if I get a heartburn, and most likely it is my GI.
Yeah.
But if I was always used to getting spicy food, nothing was happening to me. Now suddenly it comes, I get heartburn. Out of the blue symptoms, means that this is a warning sign something else is going on. Same thing in your, say, back pain or neck pain. You take an anti-inflammatory and see how it goes. Stretch your muscle. If it is better, great. But know the difference of what happens in your body. And if you get something which is absolutely out, you're getting shortness of breath, you're not having asthma, take it seriously. So this is number one. I want women to understand that once this happens, you should be very, very careful. Oh, God. Now, you should be very careful. Number two is that once you have, that means there are a lot of tests. In fact, one of the tests, which is troponin test, which is a test which is done for proteins that are come into the blood after the muscle gets injured. But the troponin tests are not very sensitive. But in the UK, they have found, in UK, not in the US, in the UK, that there's sensitive UK troponin tests that can increase the diagnosis of a women's heart disease to 43% more.
Oh.
And then there are, you see, because your EKGs and all will be normal because you are getting the subtle symptoms. That means you are not getting your main coronary artery disease blocked. Sometimes it may be microvascular, small tiny vessels that branch out from the coronary and then go to the muscles of the heart. Now you can't do any test. You can't do an angiogram on these tiny vessels, but there are other tests which can be done. They put medication to dilate your arteries and first see the blood flow in your heart through the heart, and then they put this dilating the arteries, and then there is more blood flow in your heart. And if it is not, that means your small arteries are involved. Do it by medication. Then you're there's a lot of heart syndrome, and you have this kind of a coronary artery vasospasm, which is all very more common in women. Again, the silent heart attacks are more common in women, older adults, as well as diabetics, because their nerves cannot carry the pain signals. So you may not have anything around it. Now, coming into women of South Asian origin, not Asian origin, because we were lumped together in the Asian, but it is not true. It is a South Asian. People who come from Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, Bhutan, as far as all that, Maldives. We are South Asians, and South Asians, we tend to have a few things. We have got smaller coronaries. They get blocked faster. We have larger lesions in our coronary vessels. And we get multiple vessel disease for some reason. We also are more insulin sensitive, insulin resistant. So that way, our metabolic syndrome, there are a lot of 33% of men and 18% of women have metabolic syndrome of South Asian women. And then we keep things within ourselves. We don't talk about it. We can talk about our children getting into engineering schools and becoming CEOs, but we can't talk about our children having heart disease and all that. We are not very open.
Sure.
We need to be more open. We need to be talking about it. We should be taking it. And women, remember one very important thing. There is a big thing that you all have, which is not in favor, while we men don't have, is during pregnancy. See, if you are pregnant, and if you've got high blood pressure before, cholesterol before, your chances of cardiovascular disease after your delivery are much more. If you get high blood pressure during pregnancy, your chances of cardiovascular disease are much more. If you got high cholesterol during that, if you got, say, gestational diabetic, where the sugars are high, you have more chances of getting cardiovascular disease in future. What happens is, if you get preeclampsia, where you have swelling and feet, and then you get blood pressure and protein in the urine, your chances are increased. Now, what really happens is that the blood pressure in a high blood pressure in pregnancy becomes normal after 2 weeks. So the women think they are free. The blood sugars become normal in 6 weeks.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not a diabetic, I'm okay. No, you had gestational diabetic. Your chances of cardiovascular disease are much more. If you get stillbirths or small babies, your chances are much more. So you've got to be very careful in monitoring if you have any problems during your pregnancy.
Right.
So that's another thing which is very, very important. And women, like men, first generation. We first generation Americans, men or women, we did not know how to spell exercise. And I don't see any reason why women should not be exercising, no matter what it is, Exercise should be a prescription written by every doctor, no matter what illness he comes to see the doctor with.
Right.
So exercise, and then again, when you talk about the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, You want me to go into just
Yes,
2
please.
minutes? Your 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. And the number one most important pillar of lifestyle medicine is what you eat. What you eat is more important than exercise. That is number one. Number two is exercise. Exercise not only builds up endorphins to make you feel better, it increases your good cholesterol. It helps you in a number of ways when your heart rate decreases when you are an athlete and you do regularly. Not an athlete, but if you regular exercise, your heart rate will go down. So what happens is the heart has to work less for the body to get its oxygenated blood into the tissue. So that is another advantage. And finally, if you are doing it for cardio, please, your heart rate should be 70% of your maximum heart rate. And your maximum heart rate is 220 minus your age. So if it is 220 and I am 74, if you minus 220 from 74, I will be having something like 146 or whatever, So 70% of that will be 105, 106. If I don't reach this during my exercise, it is not cardioprotective, but it is helping me feeling good, endorphins, all that are there. But cardioprotective, you should have 70% of your maximum heart rate.
Right. Okay.
So that is exercise. That was number two. Number three, sleep. Now, sleep is, they say 7 to 9 hours of sleep. A Japanese study did that and found that out. I do not, this is one pillar that I'm not completely convinced, or maybe because I have problems of sleep. So the idea is that my question is, are you getting restorative sleep or not restorative sleep? I've seen people sleep for 5 hours and they're fresh can be.
Yeah.
But I've seen people who sleep for 9 hours and they feel, oh my God, I'm not at all, I'm lethargic and what am I? So, but you need a reasonable restorative sleep. If you don't get that and you're constantly getting up tired and fatigued, there is something wrong. That's the third pillar. Fourth pillar is your social support. The system of social support, of how you give social support, which is far greater benefits than taking support. And then comes your stress levels. Your stress levels, if you cannot get it down, please use what the Indians have been using it for years. Breathing exercises, pranayama, meditation, yoga, all these things can help you with your stress. I'm still battling with it, but I'm much better. But there are days when I have problems. And then finally, you come across avoidance of substance abuse, smoking or drugs, which are, whether they are legal or illegal drugs. Cocaine, or it may be other drugs, pain medications, whatever it is. If you follow the 6 pillars, there is no way on earth you can get chronic diseases. Yes, you can get acute appendicitis. Yet you can get acute diarrhea. Yes, all these are there. There is a place for doctors to do conventional treatment too. But for chronic diseases, certain cancers, all this has been proven. That prostate cancer, your breast cancer, your arthritis, all these things can be avoided. And why are we not avoiding it?
Sure.
Because the bank balance of the pharma companies, of the doctors, of the people, of the dairy company, of the meat industry.
It's a vicious circle, isn't it? You don't know where to stop, where to start.
Vicious. Please cut me short if I'm going on and on. Just tell me, stop it. Let's go on the next subject. I have no problem.
I mean, all the information that you've given is very, very useful. I'm sure, it's a learning experience for me as well. I'm also learning in the process. Dr. Taher, I have one, I'm curious about one aspect. Say, for example, Asian women, they are prone to all these chronic diseases such as diabetes and, high blood pressure. So with the plant-based diet, do you think we can reverse this?
Absolutely. Within 21 days, your diabetes will be type 2 diabetes. Huh?
Yeah.
It will be reversed if you follow it properly. If you want to follow properly, like whole food, plant-based, no oil diet, like I can make either spinach or I can make black-eyed peas and all that, which you will not know the difference. Or if I used to like burgers before when I was young, so I always use jackfruit or something earthy, portobello mushroom. So that helps quite a lot, and I do it now. Again, I want to be very honest, so I will be very honest. I was on a cruise, and I will not mention the name. It was a cruise in the Eastern Europe. So my wife and I were with our other friends, and for some reason they did not give me the plant-based, or even they gave me a vegan meal.
Oh.
It was full of, I mean, I sometimes use the oil, or I sometimes eat, but not heavy. But this was heavy saturated fat. And I tried to avoid it, but you just can't keep on eating, because this is a cruise on the ship. So you can't avoid it. So I had it. Guess what, Chitra? My cholesterol went sky roof when I came back. Overall, I'd gone for about 1.5 months, cruise, then this, and then.
Oh dear.
And now, and I felt sick. I was not feeling myself. You know that you have?
Yeah.
That had gone off.
But Dr. Taher, I've read elsewhere also that a certain amount of oil is required for our system, for our digestive system, for the food to get digested. So when you say it's a low oil or a no oil diet, how will this work?
My point is that if you are having a heart disease or stroke or any of these chronic diseases, and you want to reverse it, you have to have a plant-based, no oil diet. If you are not having these problems, then you have to cut back on your oil. You cannot have, for example, oils which are like coconut oil. I'm sorry, but this is the truth. Or what we have around here in the Crisco, because these get solidify on room temperature. While these are saturated oils, saturated fats in these oils. While your unsaturated fat oil is like olive oil and canola oil and all those oils, if you want to, you can spray. But oil is not helping you in any way. There was an interesting question that Dr. Sailesh Rao, he does a lot for plant-based foods, and he's really a great guy. I know him personally, but he has turned around and even talked in his lectures about when the question comes about Shri Krishna Bhagwan doing yogurt, and he answers it beautifully that mythologies are mythologies in the way it is. But right now, tell me, Chitra, where are you going to get milk? Unless you got a cow in your backyard and you're feeding grass, where in your US, you go anywhere, they say organic milk, whatever, they're allowed certain pus cells, they're allowed certain hormones. I had chicken farmers that came to me and talked to me about this. I had milk dairy farmers who came and talked to me. So where are you getting? Apart from the casein in your this thing and being lactose intolerant and all that, you are not getting healthy things. And remember one thing, this ghee that we are talking about, it increases the oxidized cholesterol tenfold in comparison to ordinary oils. So don't be under the mistaken advice. No, my dears, you cannot. Am I using oil? Yes, at times spray this, that, because there's no way out of it. certain places, this, that I'm supposed to, okay, but not otherwise. If you got a thing and you want to reverse your disease, I'm sorry, you cannot. But if you are this thing, then you can cut back. You can use a little bit here and there. But the idea is when you go plant-based, don't think about those, what they call those burgers, which are made out of processed is worse.
Yeah.
So look, anything that is refined or processed, finish. Simple thing. Take a beet. The beetroot or beet has got sugar fructose. But you cannot overeat beets. But you can drink beetroot juice, which is processed again the way it is done in the market over here. So the same thing with your corn. You can eat corn, but you can't hog on corn. With corn syrup, which is used in your sodas and all that, you drink it very much because your fruit fructose is fructose. Both is fructose, but your fruit fructose is natural fructose with a lot of fiber that keeps the sugars proper, while your processed sugars go spiking up and down.
Right, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
but oil is, I know a lot of my family members, my friends, my family, but this is what I know and this is what I believe. And I am also doing it at times. But dairy is not up. The first thing somebody wants to give up and become a vegan, first give up dairy. Vegetarian, first give up dairy.
And that would also have an impact on all these chronic diseases?
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely. As I said, I had perforations in my colon. I told you about my surgeon who told me that you may die, you will not recover. Where is diverticulitis now? Back burner. They were going to operate because it is written in medical books. If you get a second perforation, you have to be operated and your colon is to be taken out.
Right. So what are the options for, suppose you want to cut down the dairy, the milk and yogurt, are there any options available for vegans?
Tremendous. You can get ice creams that are made out of cashew milk, ripple milk, which is a pea milk, PEA. Tremendous amount of protein. Cashew milk, this thing, ripple milk, and then soy milk, almond milk. And you can get all kinds of things with that. Do you know what my dessert is? And I guarantee you it is fabulously tasting. I put raisins, I put dates, okay, natural fructose, raisin, dates, bananas, natural fructose. Then I use a little cocoa powder. Okay, that I use. And then I put a little saffron, a small pinch of saffron. And then I mix it with your oat milk or the milk. It is something to die for. Now I've got a sweet tooth. I've got all my sweetness, dates, bananas, everything.
Yeah.
It is sugars that you should avoid in diabetes. It is meat and eggs and things like this you should avoid.
Oh, right. I mean, this is, this is some very useful advice, I would say. And personally, it's been an eye opener when I heard from my sisters that, they have become vegan. One is an she's a pediatric endocrinologist, and the other sister is an endocrinologist. So both are with Harvard, and she's now, the other one is with Stanford in the US. So when they both turned into vegans, I wasn't sure what exactly is happening. And she said, no, if you just follow this method and, you will find your body working in, tremendous ways, and you'll feel more energetic and whatnot. So it's been quite a while, I think 2-3 years since she's turned into vegan. I think after hearing from, what you've said today, I'm more likely to, of course, plant-based food we normally have as part of the Asian diet, South Indian diet. But as you say, cut down on dairy and move towards, to be a vegan and use the other options available for dairy for the vegans. I think it's a wonderful option, and I think that's the way to for a healthier lifestyle, I would say. Plus the exercise factor as well. And Dr. Taher, I've been personally a practitioner of yoga for many years now. Both I used to do the asanas, but I do the breathing exercise every day, and that has given me a lot of positive benefit, both physically and mentally. And I've read that you've also you do practice yoga. Do you do that every day? And what are your perspectives on how it has helped you physically and mentally?
See, what I do is just let me give you my morning routine so that you understand. The viewers, not you, but viewers understand.
Sure.
I get up in the morning after brushing my teeth. I have a big glass of lukewarm water with apple cider vinegar, half a teaspoonful in it. That protects you from, you feel that it is acidic. It is not. It protects you from all the heartburns and all that. That's number one. Number two, then I have my 1 cup of coffee. After that, whatever fruits are there in the house, I put all of them along with some celery or arugula because I like the taste, bitter taste. And then I put all that make it into a smoothie for me and my wife. I will take that smoothie, have that smoothie, and then I will start going to do my 3-mile run. If it is cold outside or raining, I will do it on my treadmill or my elliptical, or otherwise I will go out. And then I will come back, and I will at 11 o'clock, I will have the brunch. I don't have a lunch. So that is a time I will make like I said, a portobello mushroom and put it on this. But before that, I will go into my meditation, breathing. And meditation I may not do because I do it with my wife at night also. But breathing exercises and yoga. In yoga also, there are a lot of things that I do, but I don't get that time. But I never miss my sun salutation. Surya. If you look at Surya Namaskar, it is not only an exercise for strengthening your muscles, or it does a lot. If you do Surya Namaskar properly, it's aerobic. Your heart rate will go fast. Guaranteed. Now, so it becomes aerobic, like running or whatever. If you do it properly, it is also strengthening exercise because you are getting on your hands to do the downward dog, or whatever that position is. So you are getting that strengthening. You're also getting stretching exercises.
Yeah.
And on top of it, you're getting a balance exercises. So what do older people of my age would tend to lose is this, that keeping of balance, the stiffness. These are the things that we lose. This is why we fall. Because of the loss of balance. All this helps in the balance, in the stiffness, so your joints are not stiff. I've found out in my practice that women are more flexible than men. And after the age of 60, become very, very stiff. So yoga will definitely help in that. And then sometimes I will start doing breathing exercises, the pranayama. And Art of Living has taught me this. So in the evening, my wife will do it, but my wife goes into a trance. I don't know. She goes after 20 minutes also, and she's there. And I am wondering because I'm not very good at it still.
Right.
I'm a learner. I have not learned everything, and I've got skeletons in my closet. But I'm here not only to tell people to learn from my mistakes, to understand my transformation, and to learn from my patients.
Yeah.
I feel really down, and I'm sometimes really feeling bad. I think of my patients, terminal cancers, having only a month or 2 months to live. And when you go and see them, they have a smile on their face. That wins your heart. That makes you understand how to live in life.
Certainly. I like your mind. What you have shared with us today is extremely important and useful. And I'm sure our listeners also would benefit a lot from hearing your perspectives. What is your vision going forward?
My legacy is to see that South Asians and others don't have to die unnecessarily of chronic diseases. Number one being your heart disease. And I have gone through it. I know what it is. I've been in their shoes. I've turned into a septuagenarian athlete after that. So if I can do it at the age of 61, after my open heart surgery, then you people with, if you are interested in looking after your health, you can do it also. And that is going to be my legacy, to leave a better place for your children, your grandchildren, and my grandchild, to a better place to live. That's my legacy. And for people who want to know more about the foods that you are asking me, please read my book, Open Heart, because all the royalties of that book are going for 3 charities. One is very distinct. My wife has PETA for animals, and then St. Jude's for children, and American Heart Association. So nothing is going in my pocket, but I would love them to read and understand. Open Heart. And if you really like it, or even if you don't like it, please put an honest review. It can be good, bad, or ugly. I don't care. But if you get something out of it, put a review so that I spread the heart healthy message far and wide.
Certainly. How do you describe yourself in 3 words?
I am optimist.
What would you have been if you were not a physician?
Attorney, fighting for the rights of people who don't have.
Name one social change you would like to see around you.
I think the disparity between rich and the poor should not be that large.
What's your favorite movie?
Lawrence of Arabia.
Your favorite holiday destination?
Bhutan.
Your favorite food?
And I just say my wife's cooking, but the 7-bean soup that she makes.
Lastly, can you keep away for 24 hours from any tech gadgets such as TV, phones, or laptop?
No, I can't, because I'm in the media field right now when promoting a lot of my messages.
Sure.
And I'm not media savvy. That is why I got all mixed up with your timings and all that.
Right. So with this, we come to the end of such a very useful and very valuable insights to hear from you. I'm greatly honored to be speaking to you today. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope to meet you in person someday.
Really, absolutely. And you didn't ask me one question. What is my favorite book? Open Heart. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But in any case, lovely talking to you, my dear. And I am so happy that I got to know you.